The Sales Tax Settings tab is the next tab after the Payment Settings tab and allows you to indicate whether your customer is subject to sales tax or not. The first field is the tax code field, and the drop-down choices comes from the sales tax code list that is covered under Lesson 4. The choices here are pretty straightforward. Either the customer is subject to sales tax or they are not. Of course, there may be instances where they are taxable on some items and not others, but this is usually dealt with at the transaction level. For example, when you create an invoice, the item itself being sold can be designated as taxable or non-taxable. In general, if a customer does not have some type of documentation, for example, a tax-exempt certificate form from the state, then if an item is taxable, then the customer should be charged sales tax. However, if the entity is a not-for-profit and has the documentation to support its status, then they typically are non-taxable regardless of whether the item is normally taxable. If the customer is taxable, then you can select a tax item default for that customer so that whenever you create a customer transaction, whether it be an invoice, sales receipt, credit memo, etc., then the default sales tax item will come up as the default. Remember, you can always change the default setting at the transaction level if it turns out a different sales tax item should be used. Setting up sales tax items in groups was discussed in Lesson 4. If a customer status is non-taxable, then there's no reason to select a default tax item, but it is advisable to put in any resale number or other document code referring to a customer's tax-exempt status. The key when it comes to whether to charge or not charge a customer sales tax must be made carefully and demands diligence in obtaining the proper paperwork if they are tax exempt, since if you do not collect sales tax when you are supposed to, then any shortfall can become your burden, and that is something you must avoid to prevent throwing money down the drain.